the day-to-day operations of current or future partners and kind of stewarding that and taking care of that. And along with that, I am based in Indianapolis, and I am joined as well from Elliot. If Elliot wants to do a quick introduction, he can.
Hi, Greg. Hi, Liz. Thank you, Ryan. This is Elliot Mork with Project Lead the Way, Director of Partnerships for Project Lead the Way. I do a lot of interface with our external partners, mostly corporations that want to work with Project Lead the Way. And as part of my work, I manage the innovation portal and utilize it as a connection point for students working on their engineering projects and interfacing them with professionals in the field like yourself, Greg. So this is just one project that we work on, pretty important one, to put this platform together and provide that structured feedback and really get the students' work that is happening in their engineering classrooms some exposure and recognition for the great work that they do in the classroom. And so it's a great competition that MSOE hosts to provide some of that recognition, and we're just providing the technology platform to enable their competition. And so if there's anything about the innovation portal that you need help and support with, you can go to Liz. You can also come to Ryan and I, and there's an email at the bottom of the slide there, innovation@pltw.org. That's where we do all of the technical support for the innovation portal. So Liz is learning about the innovation portal as well, so you can bring stuff to Liz, bring stuff to us about the innovation portal. If it's something specific about the competition, like a scheduling issue, that would be mostly Liz, because she's the competition lead for MSOE. Welcome. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I think mostly it's just, yeah, I'm excited to be a part of it. I think it's really, really great. I think it's really cool. I think it's just a matter of understanding understanding how to do things correctly.
Yeah,
I think the technology stuff is okay, and I'll be able to figure that out, and scheduling stuff is fine. But it's really just kind of the meat and potatoes of how we ensure it to be consistent, and just to make sure that I do what I need to do correctly.
Yep, Ryan and I are gonna dive pretty deep into that. We have a normal outline that we go through to kind of help people learn exactly what they need to do on the innovation portal. Pretty robust tools have been developed over the past, 2011, so about 6 years now. Some pretty robust tools have been developed, and we're a pretty small group today. I think Tuesday we had a much larger group, so it was more of a presentation. But if you have any questions today, please jump on. I think we have 1 or 2 more people that have joined us, Adam and Tom, so we can keep this interactive. But we do have some things that we're going to show you. We're going to show you exactly what you need to know to be able to do the evaluation on the innovation portal.
Thank you. Sounds good.
Well, again, welcome. I know we have some people just joining us. One thing I did want to mention right off the bat, again, my name is Ryan Harkleroad. I do work for Project Lead the Way, and I'll kind of be taking you through the steps, and then Elliot jumps in a couple key points as well. But this call is being recorded, so don't feel like you have to remember everything I'm saying word for word, because it will be recorded, and then after the call, either Liz or Paul will be sending you out that recording, that YouTube link, so you can watch it, you can reference back, go to the important key or the important parts that were mentioned there as well. So moving right along, it does look like everyone can see my screen, which is great. Just kind of going over what we're going to cover today. Again, welcome. We can't thank you enough for joining us today. MSOE does greatly appreciate it, because without judges, believe it or not, this competition wouldn't be able to happen. So without key individuals like you guys on the line right now, that we wouldn't be able to host a competition. So again, we'll go into kind of how to create your own innovation portal account and making sure you're connected to the competition, as well as how to access the portfolios assigned to you. So going over making sure you're connected not only to the competition, but when those portfolios are assigned to you in a little less than a week, how to actually review them and look at them. Go into more details as well about the rubric you will be using and accessing the rubric as well, and the key components around it. The 2 important dates that I will be mentioning briefly, or not briefly, quite frequently throughout the entire call will be the June 13th to the 27th. So sometime on June 13th, Paul and Liz will officially be pushing out the portfolios to all the judges to begin the review process. And then they do ask you have all reviews in by the 27th. So you have a good 2 solid weeks to complete that, 2 weekends in there to review the portfolios and kind of understand that. They do ask that you do it sooner rather than later, so you have the appropriate time to devote to each portfolio, and you're not rushing on the final day and the final minute, and you have to review 5 portfolios the final day, because that can be a lot of work to request as well. So moving on and making sure you're getting connected to the competition. By now, you should have received an invitation from the Innovation Portal asking you to be a judge for the competition. If this is your first time being a judge for the competition, when you clicked on that link within the email to accept it, it should then prompt you to create an account or give you indication that you need to create an account for the Innovation Portal. So do go ahead and go through that process. It's a very simple process, just a username, password, and email address. If you are new, if you are a returning judge to the Innovation Portal, we do ask you go ahead and just log in with your previous usernames and passwords. If you do not remember that, there is a forgot password link there, as well as a forgot username that you can go through and kind of appropriate steps. And if you have any problems with that, don't be afraid to reach out to MSOE. Or if you didn't receive that email, I'll show you a little bit later in the call on where you can go to accept that invitation without actually receiving the email or something along those lines, because it is possible you could have easily deleted it. Maybe at the time you weren't expecting it or you didn't know it was coming, so you might have maybe flagged it as spam or junk mail or something like that. So again, once you accept that invitation, then you are officially attached, and I'll go over details to ensure you're attached now, so we're not focusing on it on the 13th or that later part of next week trying to get you connected to the competition when you could be spending your time actually reviewing the portfolios.
And as a side note, everybody on this training does show up as registered and linked to the competition.
Yep, I was just checking that as well. So Greg, Adam, and Tom, you guys are all already accepted as judges. I could see that.
Wonderful. That makes it a lot easier for me. Moving on, I always like to kind of go over a little bit overview of how the students use Innovation Portal, what they're seeing, kind of how it works for the students interface, just so you have a little bit of understanding or background information around that as well. So again, one student who's part of a group would essentially log into the Innovation Portal, create an account, and create a portfolio. And then once that portfolio is created, from there they can invite their other classmates or project partners. The best way to think of a portfolio that's being created is very similar to like a 3-ring binder, to where someone before computers or before everything was digitalized is just putting their presentation or their project together in a 3-ring binder. They have different sections, different pieces of evidence, different drawings, different research that's been completed, and that's all been compiled into a 3-ring binder. Is what the Innovation Portal does, it allows for them to do that, but to upload it and complete it all digitalized. So it's all available to them there. And students then have the ability, once they're all made project owners, to kind of each make edits and changes all at the same time. So it's not one person has to log in to make an edit, or someone has to have that 3-ring binder at that time as well. So it allows everyone to work collaboratively as well. And then from there, they do have the ability to share that portfolio with their instructor or their teachers that is providing them feedback throughout the year. Because something that I believe Elliot kind of touched on a little bit is students have been working on these projects for a majority of the school year. So normally the first week of school, all Project Lead the Way students in EDD or engineering, design, and development, the big goal or the big task within that course is to develop something, develop almost like a real-world problem, something that have something near and dear to their heart, something that really anything and anything that's it's really an open-ended book, have the ability to do that as well. And then from there, so that throughout this entire school year, teachers have been providing feedback to them as well. And then they also have the ability to invite project mentors. So there might be business leaders in the community, maybe that the students are connected to, or maybe even the teacher. Most likely it is the teacher. And there's project mentors that come on board to provide valuable feedback to the students. Tell them, oh, you covered this area really nicely, but you left this out. I would go into more detail about this. And kind of going around in that area as well, so they have a better understanding and can really build a strong portfolio for themselves.
And one other thing I want to jump in on that point, you'll be getting a post-experience survey from us after the judging experience, and part of that survey is asking if you'd like to serve as a project mentor for students. It's not always guaranteed that we have that ability. It kind of varies school to school and district to district based on their policy for connecting project mentors to students directly. But once you've gone through the judging process, sometimes those opportunities do open up. And so if you reply yes, then you'll be on that list to be asked to virtually mentor some students as they're actually developing these portfolios instead of just doing the review at the end.
As well as we do welcome the opportunity for you to do both as well. So don't feel like it's one or the other. Just if you are a project mentor and they do submit to a competition that you're judging for, we would work with that competition administrator to ensure you don't review their portfolio to make sure it is fair. And then once that portfolio is then created, students then have the ability to submit it to the competition. So students coming up, I believe the deadline for MSOE's competition or Miss Wisconsin's competition is going to be on Monday. So students are finishing up. This is their final weekend and the final stretch, and they'll submit that project to the competition. And from there, that one portfolio can actually be submitted to multiple competitions. So students aren't just tied to one competition. There might be 3 or 4 competitions that the students qualify for or meet the qualifications or the guidelines to apply. So students have the ability to do that, and they can submit that same portfolio. As well as students have the ability to create multiple portfolios. So students might have 2 or 3 portfolios going on at once with different groups, different partners, different ideas. So that's another thing students have, as well as they always will have access to the portfolio. So it's something that doesn't go away in 6 months or a year. If students want to reference this in 6 or 7 years, the portfolio will still be there for them. So it gives you a little bit of background of how the Innovation Portal works and how it works for the students as well. So I'm going to go ahead and log into the Innovation Portal here real quickly, but as I'm logging in, if there's any questions or anything, don't be afraid to speak out on those real quick. I'll be happy to answer those for you. Okay, so as I mentioned before, the actual website for the Innovation Portal is very simple. It's just innovationportal.org. And you will have multiple places to log in. I believe there's a login in the top right-hand corner here, as well as how I just did it over here on the right-hand side. So before I really do a deep dive into the judging of the Innovation Portal, I did kind of want to navigate around briefly just so everyone has an understanding of kind of what each tab is, and it's just a better understanding of the Innovation Portal as a whole. So right when you log in, this takes you to the My Portfolios. This is where the students are doing about 99% of their work is all out of here for the Innovation Portal. They each have multiple portfolios they can click on, share on, go in there as well. The next one tab is My Reviews, which being judges is going to be the most important tab for you or category for you, because this is where all the portfolios are going to be that are assigned to you. So you'll notice that come next Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday evening when they officially push out everything, it will be here. However many portfolios are assigned to you will all be listed here, and they'll all show active. Obviously, you're seeing some as being complete because obviously we have been hosting multiple trainings throughout the year for other competitions as well as the Wisconsin competition as well. So I'll come back to My Reviews. My Notifications is where you can go to see if you've been invited to the competition and where you can accept it, as well as the notifications that portfolios have been assigned to you. The Opportunities tab, I always like to kind of touch upon this one a little bit as well. This is where you can essentially go to learn more about the Wisconsin competition, other competitions or opportunities that we currently do have. So as of today, you do see the Wisconsin one being posted. Now when it comes time to be on Tuesday the 13th, next Tuesday, and the competition has officially closed, this actually will go into past, and you'll still be able to review it there. So you'll see here, where is it? The 2016 Wisconsin Engineering Design Competition. That will actually switch over and will be the 2017 one, and this one will disappear. And that'll be a past opportunity, so you can go in there as well. And then the final tab that we have is just the Learning Center, and that's really cut and dry. It allows students to kind of see scored examples, best practices, as well as getting connected to being judges in different categories or sections like that. So just additional resources for students as well as judges are available in there. So moving forward, past now, you will eventually be going to a different competition. You'll be going to the Wisconsin one. But one way, I know Liz mentioned how you guys are all accepted and approved and gone through that process for judges. But if you click on the actual opportunity, you should see this icon here that will be reviews. And that allows for you to verify that you are officially connected to the competition before the date. So moving along, like I said, the My Reviews is going to be the most important section for judges. So when it comes time for My Reviews, you just go ahead, you will have all active here. So just go ahead and click on an active one, the first one that you have. So this is the portfolio that will come up. There'll be different elements or different sections on the right-hand side. The first one will be the portfolio cover page. The best way to describe that, and this is not judged either, this will normally maybe have a picture of the team, their school name, where they're from, name of their teacher, their course, additional information around the team and the project. So almost like the first page on that portfolio, because remember this is very similar to a 3-ring binder. So do always keep that in mind. And then from there, each element or each section will then be broken out into A, B, and then we actually go all the way to L. And then there is 2 more, the M and N will actually be left blank. And M and N for everything else in the portfolio, so A through L, you actually, when you're doing the review, it's going to be on just that element, just that piece. So when you're reviewing something, just focus on element A. Don't think about what could be coming or maybe what's previously been mentioned. So maybe you get to element G. Oh, they actually talked about that in element A. You don't really want to consider that when it comes time to judge just that certain piece. However, for M and N, those actually are reviewing the entire project as a whole. So it's an overall presentation of that as well. So do keep that in mind. For M and N, they will be left blank for the students, but you still do need to assign a score there as well. And that, again, is as the portfolio as a whole. So now moving into the actual rubric that we will be utilizing, it is referred to, kind of for technical terms, is the EDPSSR rubric. And this is a rubric that actually, as Elliot mentioned previously in the call, was developed about 6 or 7 years ago by several business professionals, college professors, almost like a board of engineers, kind of came together, decided that something was needed to be able to evaluate student work for the collegiate level.
And actually on that point, it was originally an NSF grant to do this, to put this work together, this EDPPSR rubric. And the work was really tailored around how do you standardize evaluation of student engineering design work that by definition is not really a fill-in-the-bubble type evaluation. It has to be more portfolio driven because it's more about applying the process to a problem. So the NSF grant it happened. That research put together the rubric, brought in all those players together, and then there is still currently ongoing research about refining the rubric so that you have consistent judge scoring. And so one of the things we have looked at in the past is how judges score different portfolios and their comments, and then to see how aligned they are with actually focusing on the rubric definitions. It's important to read the rubric and really evaluate based on the rubric, to not only standardize how judges are evaluating student work, but also that's the same rubric that students are reading when they're putting the work together. So it gives them that it gives students the target point for where they should be performing to get a certain score. And so it's important to stay consistent. It's pretty robust tool, this rubric. It's meant to be utilized with students that are running through an engineering design process for an entire school year. So pretty robust tool, pretty storied background with the EDPPSR rubric.
Thank you, Elliot. So moving on, Elliot kind of explained the rubric, and I'm sure you're thinking it's a very intense or detailed rubric, and it is. However, we do have great resources available to you. So on the right-hand side with each element, you'll see, it'll go for me, that it gives a description of what a 5 is. It gives a description of what a 4 is. Same for 2, 1, even 0. Obviously, 0 is blank. So if you run into any category, maybe there's an element that doesn't have any content in it, we do ask that you give it a 0 except M and N, remember. M and N are the two that will be left blank, and you're reviewing as a whole. But one of the great things that is great about this rubric, because traditionally when you go to a science fair and you're a judge and you walk into the gym or to the common room where all the presentations are, you can actually see the overall work or the overall quality that's in the room. So you can normally have a good idea or sense of idea who the top 5 schools are going to be or the top 5 groups. With this, you don't have that luxury of kind of looking around the room and seeing everyone else's work. So one of the great features of this rubric is actually down here, it gives you examples. So this is a score of a 1, this is a description of it, and this is actually an example of what a 1 should look like. The same is true for a 2, 3, 4, and 5. So each element has an example to it as well as a description. So do keep that in mind, that you do have that at your availability, and we do recommend that you use that to keep judging fair among all groups, as well as we always like to make it seem that it's like a staircase for each level or each number. So a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, the distance between a 1 and 2 or the quality of work should be the same as a 2 and 3. So kind of keep thinking as a staircase when it comes time to assign the scores. So a lot of times judges always like to go through, look at the presentation beforehand, kind of understand what's going on before they actually start doing the judging. And then when it is time to judge, you're ready to move on to that step, you do have the ability, or then it's time to move over here in this right-hand corner on each element. You will see the review icon. You just simply click on that, and then to actually review your elements appears. So again, you have a 3, you can hit the plus sign, read what a 3 is, 4, 5, 1, and 2, and you can move this around as well. We'll go ahead and exit out of that. Now, one important thing I always like to mention is that the Innovation Portal is automatically saving every couple of microseconds. So there's no need to worry about hitting a save button or losing your work or anything like that. So if something comes up and you were only able to get through the first 2 or 3 elements and you accidentally exit out or you leave your computer, that's completely fine because all of your previous work has been saved. So you don't have to think you have to review an entire portfolio in one setting. So do keep that in mind. So we will go ahead and assign this as a 4. Again, we reviewed everything, went through the examples, just determined that a 4 was the best fitted score for this, as well as we do highly, highly recommend leaving a comment. It can be as detailed as you would like, but make sure you do put something in the comments, because a lot of times competitions between the top 5 or 3 to 5 entries are extremely close. A great example is Elliot and I just ran a competition previously a couple of weeks ago, and believe it or not, the top 3 entries were only a point separated, all 3 of them. So we had to go through and review the judges' comments to have a better understanding of each portfolio and be able to better make the top 3 or determine the top 3 groups and what order they were in as well. So that's why it's super important to leave comments here as well. So again, I've assigned this a 4. You put a comment in here. And again, that can be as detailed as you would like. And then from there, you just simply move on to the next element. You review it. You have your judge icon. Assign it as 0 through 5. We'll give them a 5. Put our comment in. And then keep moving on. And you'll see B is where I previously went. I can go back to B. My score of a 4, and my comment is there. So everything is saving automatically for me. So once you would do that, you want to go through and, again, make sure you assign letters or scores all the way through A through N. Once that has been completed, you then, and you're 100% sure you're ready to move on, to complete the review process, you just simply click the Complete Review icon. And then you can see there, both my comments and scores are listed in element B and C. Now you want to go through this very carefully and make sure you do have a score assigned to every question mark or every element, and don't leave anything out, because if you leave something out or you forget to put in a score, that does count as a 0 for the students, and that will bring their average down overall. So do keep that in mind. And then once you're here, you do want to review everything, as I just previously mentioned. And this is very similar to like your online order. So once you click the I understand and the complete review, it goes through. There's no going back. You can't cancel your order or anything along those lines. That's why you want to really make sure you're happy with all your scores and your presentations that you've done as well. So go ahead and complete review. And then once that's been completed, right here is the one that I just reviewed. Now you will always have access to it. You just won't be able to change your scores. So this will allow for you to go back in and review the work and that's been presented to you, but it doesn't allow for you to see, you can leave a score because my review icon here in my bottom right-hand corner has been left. You can go back and review your summary as well, but again, you can't make any changes. So going back to my reviews, and then that shows completed. And then from here, you just would move on to the next one and click on that presentation and go from there. So that kind of gives you a good understanding, and you would go ahead and review. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, how long is it going to take me to review a portfolio? It's like a lot of things. When you do it for the first time, it's going to take longer, and you're going to get quicker as you go along. We traditionally recommend anywhere from about 45 minutes to an hour for the first portfolio to review. And the reason for that is that you're getting used to the rubric. You're trying to understand truly what is a 2, what is a 3, what is a 5, and having a better understanding of that. However, when you move on to that second and third portfolio, you will go a little bit quicker because you understand what a 3 and a 5 are and what a 1 and a 2. So normally about 45 minutes to an hour for the first portfolio, and then from there it gets a little bit quicker, and you're looking at about 30 to 45 minutes. Again, a lot depends on the presentation as well and how much detail the students went into. So do keep that in mind as well in your mind, and when you have portfolios assigned to you, kind of be able to manage your time as well, so you're not doing everything the final day and it becomes overwhelming. So this kind of takes you around the innovation portal. Again, it's my reviews. They all show up, and they'll all show active, and you just click on them and go through the process from there. And that is kind of shows you around innovation portal and where to go from here. Does anyone have any questions on the innovation portal and how to access anything or this rubric or anything like that? Real quick before I open up for questions, I always do like to mention that after this call, Liz or Paul will be sending out the rubric, a PDF version of the rubric. A lot of judges like to review that beforehand, and some judges actually even print it out. So they have it on their desk while they're reviewing the portfolio. So it kind of helps them go back and forth a little bit easier instead of having to manage everything on their screen. It's really whatever your preference is. We're okay with any of that as long as you get those scores submitted by the appropriate date and reviewed by that certain date. So are there any questions or anything like that that I can answer for you? Wonderful. So again, as I previously mentioned, you will be receiving a follow-up email. It will be a recording of this, and again, it will be a YouTube link, so it allows for you to fast forward or go back and just go to those certain sections that you need to review, as well as we'll be sending you a PDF of step-by-step guide. So it kind of gives you that step-by-step guide to kind of help jog your memory for when it does become time to review those portfolios. And we'll send you reflective questions as well as a PDF copy of the rubric. Another thing that we always like to bring up at the end of the call is do make sure that your browser is up to date. We have been able to determine that the two browsers that are the friendliest with the innovation portal are Google Chrome and Firefox. Now, it will appear that Safari or Internet Explorer are working with the innovation portal, but there are key features that might not be available by utilizing those two browsers. So that's why it is required that you do utilize Google Chrome and Firefox to make sure you are able to fully review the portfolio. Again, we've already verified that everyone has been successfully connected to the competition. Again, there are those dates that I mentioned previously. Portfolios will be assigned to you sometime on the 13th, and then they just ask that you have them all turned in and completed by the 27th. Again, MSOE fully understands that things come up, work comes up. If something happens and you don't feel like you're going to be able to review all the portfolios that were assigned to you, please reach out to them and let them know so they can reassign those portfolios to other judges that maybe have already completed the review process. And that just ensures that each portfolio is being touched by a certain amount of judges, so there's not one student that maybe doesn't have their portfolio reviewed at all or only had one judge review it. So it keeps, again, fair everything can be universal as well. So do keep that in mind. Again, Elliot and I will stay on the call. So if anyone has any questions or anything like that, we'll be more than happy to answer them for you. But from here, I will go ahead and turn it over to Liz again. Again, thank you for everyone for joining us today. Liz, you want to make a few closing remarks?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Ryan. So again, thank you all so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to help us with this competition. Some follow-ups from us, as Ryan and Elliot indicated, you'll be receiving an email from me today with that YouTube link as well as the PDF rubric. Additionally, on Monday is when we're hoping to assign all the portfolios. So I will be reaching out to everybody who's on our queue of judges to let you know that that's been sent out. And you can let me know if for whatever reason you're not seeing any assigned portfolios or anything of that nature. And then lastly, if you know that you can only dedicate an hour or 2 hours, you already know that you're going to be limited to a few portfolios but would like to participate, email me and let me know what that limit is, and we'll make sure we only assign you up to that limit. I believe last year everyone had 4. That's kind of where it ended up, and that varies based on how many judges we have and how many portfolios there are. But if you can reach out to me in advance, I'll make sure that we get that balanced right away, and then we don't have to worry about reassigning portfolios later.
Wonderful. Well, again, thank you for joining us today. Again, Elliot, myself, and Liz will be staying on the line if we can answer any questions, but that is the end of our training today. Thank you again.
Thank you.